question. I see Gary Barbera in here and some other people. So I got a call, Tommy, from a GSM this week, and his number is 100 in new, and he's like, yeah, we're pacing. They're pacing like 80, 81, and it's the most they've done. And I'm just like, and I asked him, I was like, well, where'd you guys get 100 from? Have you ever done 100 in this month? He's like, no, that's just what the owner wants to hit. And I'm like, well, that's a fictitious number. And so so this is a real question, Mr. Long and others. How do you guys come up with the number that you want to have every month? Is it based upon gross? What's it based upon? The volume number that you want to hit in new and used?
Well, I heard you say Mr. Long, which I don't know why you called me that. But anyway, hope you all can hear me. It has to be on, this is at least for me, prior sales history. There's 4 or 5 definite have to knows: prior sales history, inventory availability, um, applied time, unapplied time. You cannot tell me if your store's been averaging 12 cars a person that you're going to have a forecast of 16 cars a person. And if you can tell me that, then I need to know how's the store average that's been happening for 6 years going to change from 12 to 16. Like, I just need to know the math and where you come up with that, and I'll support you if you think you can get there and you have a path to get there. I'm in. So it's inventory availability, it's sales history, and it is capacity. Those are the three absolutes. If you can't justify through sales history, through uh, so the mean, the averages over the course of time, and if you can't tell me how you're going to turn your inventory 72 times a year, then I need to have a realistic forecast from you that you can hit. Because a forecast is one thing. That's an absolute commitment. It would be like me saying I'm going to pay you on the 15th of the month and forgetting or not making it a big deal when the 17th and the 20th comes and you haven't been paid. So a forecast is a commitment. A goal, you can have a goal of whatever you want. I don't care if you say you want to run a 4-minute mile. That can be your goal, but it can't be your commitment.
Well, real quick, 72 times a year. Are you talking about used? I've never heard that figure.
I know. That's what I'm saying. So if you tell me that you have 100 cars in stock and you're going to sell 600, I need to know how you're going to do something like
Ah,
that.
okay.
That's my point. Everything inside of a forecast, in my mind, needs to be based on actual facts. If you have a salesperson that's never sold more than 4 cars, don't plug their forecast in at 20 and think I'm going to buy it. Like, that's not going to sit for me. That's what I'm saying.
I think on top of that, David, also what the OEM is requiring or forecasting for you or projecting that you need to hit also goes into those numbers as well, Trent.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, Gray, but if my manufacturer gives me a forecast of 70 cars and I have 80 in stock and 30 of them have stop sale recalls, I need all of that to be considered before
Uh,
somebody gives me a forecast and commitment.
100%, David. But I being in retail can tell you, we look at the number. Okay, Ford wants us, Chrysler wants us, whatever it is. 82 is our number, and then how do we reverse that back? And you never generally want to go with just the number if you have a strong store. But at the same time, if you have those issues going on, then you're not going to hit that 82 number. You're going to be a more realistic number. But I do believe that plays into some of the forecasting.
Well, I mark the calendar. I agree with David. I mean, set a goal. It can't be just grab a number out of the air. There's got to be some math that goes to it. It's got to be specific. You got to be able to track the progress. They have to be realistic. You know, uh, and then obviously time bound as well. But can't you say I want to do blank? I want to lift 300 pounds. Well, I can't just jump in the gym and lift 300 pounds. There's got to be a process. Got to be a plan. Yes.
Absolutely. 100
It
now
should
Yeah,
be.
100%. And that's the difference between, like David said, that's the difference between a forecast and a goal.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate that. Good, Jay.
No, Trent. Just out of curiosity, I think your question was more so like the OEM makes their forecast typically at the beginning of the year, and you may have certain adjustments made by the OEM depending on recalls, whatnot, throughout the year. At least you hope for that anyway. And how is the difference of what the OEM gathers as what your forecast should be? Why is there such variation in between what the dealer principal or the group, their number is vastly different than what the OEM? Like personally, like my store, the factory wants us to be at 42, but the OEM, that's what the OEM, but the group wants us to be at 54. So there's a 12-point delta there that's got to get hit. Where's that number coming up with? Am I assuming that's kind of more like what your question is?
Well, no, I know where the OEM number often comes from, and frankly, there are some OEMs that are very bad at this. I come out of Nissan, and I've seen some ridiculous numbers in the past, but I was more talking about the forecast from a dealer, but especially on used. This individual on used, I think he had 60 on 60 in stock, and they wanted to do 65. I'm like, well, but I like, from what I know, that ain't gonna happen. So, that's David kind of answered my question, but yeah, I was wondering how you guys do forecasting, how you look at it. The stop sale that David brought up, that's a great point on new, because that's a problem for a lot of dealers. So I wonder how do you individually come up each month with what you're going to sell? Do you look at historical data from the past year over year month? Do you look at other stores, your comparable stores? Like
Trent,
what's your metric?
can I ask you a quick question?
100%. Go ahead.
Thanks. And this is not to be a wise guy. So if somebody had 60 used cars in stock, what forecast do you think they should give?
Uh 35.
So, and
Wait.
I only say this to I only say this to make a point. But if you had a used car manager that was working for me, and they had 60 cars total in stock, retail, wholesale, frontline, all together, and they had 60 in stock, and they forecasted less than 80, it'd be a different used car manager there by the beginning of the following month. So when I
Yeah.
hear, and
Okay.
just so you know, when I hear you say, if you have 60 and you forecast 65, that ain't going to happen. I wouldn't want anybody in this room to hear that and think that you're right, because and I love you for sure. And you're from the OEM perspective, I'm sure have a different disposition. But if you're on my team and you have 60 on your lot and you don't sell 80, you better make sure your resume is up to date if you're not following the process.
I mean, for
Yeah,
Maybe
that
we have
maybe
point,
seven.
the dealer's been
Trent.
listening to you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, I was saying, like, I started my month off with 64 cars in the used car department, and I'm currently pacing 82. So it is definitely possible to do that. It's, acquisition, get him through the shop, price it to the market, get him in, get him on, get him gone is where the mentality needs to be at for that. You can't fall in love with any of the metal as a dealer, and hopefully he's not. But, you're holding on to it is only going to hurt you the longer you hold on to that car. You've got to have a shop that is, you know, working with you to get the cars out fast, which is a problem in most places. You've got to have it marketed correctly, and you've got to have it priced right. You got to make sure you have the options, the equipment, the colors, the photos. Time to market is time to profit, in my opinion. And the faster I can get my photos online, whether I'm taking them with my damn cell phone or my photo person's putting them out there with the dealer image app, I could care less. I want them on the website ready to go because we all know no pig, no click. It's just how the world works.
So go ahead, Trent. What were you going to say? I just want to make sure. Because again, I'm not trying to
No,
punch you in the
baby,
face. I'm
baby.
just.
That's why I come here. That's why Tommy tells me to come here and get some education. Because you're right, I do sit up in the what I call the ivory tower, and you fucking get glossed over, and you forget what's going on in retail. So I've I've always been taught, you're going to sell roughly a little bit half to 60% of your inventory is a good turn. Now, if you're telling me that's different, if you're saying that you can do 120% of your inventory in a month, that's
Well,
news to
yeah,
me.
if you're not,
Is that an average?
but
Is that
you are right on that half as it relates to new, but on used, like store the starting inventory is usually low 60s, and we'll do 100 out of that. So it's just it should happen every month without fail. And if it's not, then you're what Jason was saying. You're speed to lot. Your virtual showroom, your physical showroom. You don't have any kind of policies or procedures. You're not priced into the market. But if you're doing all the right stuff that we talk about in all things used cars, I promise you'll turn your inventory 15 to 20 times a year.
is that you that's doing 100% of your inventory, or would you say that's a norm now for the industry?
It's probably more of a norm than it used to be, but I can't imagine that most dealers today, and I could be wrong, maybe it's just the dealers I coach or that I'm involved in. I could not imagine a dealer having 100 cars and selling less than 100 ever these days.
Even the bad dealers will turn the inventory at one time.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's why I asked the question. Thank you. Came in here, learned something today. So if he's got 60 in stock. Now, not all those were retail ready. I think he was at
That doesn't matter though. That
30.
not all were retail. So I have dealers all the time that say I have 60 frontline cars. I don't give a shit. You wrote the check for it. It's a car that you need to turn. So if you have 60 on the front line and 100 in stock, you damn sure better sell 150 by getting those cars prepared and ready to retail.
I think he had 32 out for the month and used. And I actually thought that was a pretty decent job. You're telling me that's not a good job.
No,
Correct.
yeah, he stinks. No doubt.
Like David said, though, Trent, if you're looking at new cars, your algorithm is right on point. But when it comes to used and where we are today as an industry, it's almost a 1-to-1. What you have is what you should turn.
And so the
Well,
average
one to one
time on
sucks
lot,
too, though, Gray. If you're doing 1-to-1, that you're ready. You're getting your face kicked in with that as well.
Yeah, but if you have 100 in ground, and you're selling at least 100 and turning at least your full boat of inventory.
You suck.
That's of course, David. That
No,
doesn't mean
I'm
you're
not.
doing
I'm
okay.
saying the average dealer right now, because look what's happening in the market. If you have higher than a 30 days to sale, or you have more than a 25 day supply, I'm telling you that dealer, I bet has 10, 15, 20% of his inventory over 60 days. Then they're not making a profit on that. They're sitting on all kinds of water. They're headed to a train wreck, and the minute things change a bit, there's a blip in the radar, they're really screwed.
And the grosses suck.
I think it was 42 days, David. Don't quote me on that, but I think that was the number. And you think the number should be what now?
Sub 20.
Sub 20. Okay.
By the way, it's not a think. Just so
Man,
you
I'm
know, it's not really a think. This is like gravity. It just is. It's not about my opinion, what David says or thinks. This is about what over and over and over for the last, I don't know, 40 years that I've been doing this is what produces income.
If only every used car manager was at that level, man.
Then there'd be no fun. Everybody would be at the same
Well, the
level.
ones that are not at that level, I guarantee you, if you pulled out their financial statements, they're not making any money. They got a bunch of age, and it's the dealer that's the dummy. He's letting that happen because we don't get what we want; we get what we tolerate. So it's our fault if that's what it's like.
Hey, David, one more quick question. The fact that he's in a, I won't call it a rural market, but I would call it semi-rural market in Indiana. Does that factor in at all?
No, no, not in my opinion. Well, let me just ask you this. I think the litmus test is how many cars does he have over 60? What's his front, back, and total gross? And is department profitable? You know, they're obviously, if the dealer's doing it in a way that he's profitable, he has no age. There's more than one way to do this, but I've not seen a dealer that sells 40, 50, 60% of their inventory and ever can find their way to profit.
30 years ago, that location might have mattered because most of the people that shopping you were pretty local. But now you have an appeal to the whole world, so because of the internet, so it doesn't matter anymore.
Hey, Trent, I obviously being in Indiana, I've hit a lot of those different marketplaces, and so I'll say, bring me up to speed a little bit on what you're asking again.
His turn on used, he's got 32 out for the month, and he's got 60 in stock. Again, not all retail ready, and I thought he was doing a good job with that. So let's say he has probably 50 retail ready in stock, and I thought that was a decent job. David has told me that is not a decent job.
Well, I just want to say one more thing. You keep saying retail ready. That when somebody tells me that, I want to go cuckoo. Why? Because the minute you write the check, you own that car. It's ready. It's got to be ready because you paid for it.
Yep,
Right? And when I hear people say that, that's like their scapegoat to not have to hit the number.
100%. That just means they have a recon problem, right? So the other thing too, Trent, just to kind of give you some other, again, I'll give you a little bit of my perspective, right? Your new should drive a lot of your, in my opinion anyway, a decent percentage of your used sales. And your turns, I mean, 12 is obviously low today in today's age, right? And so you should have, I think, 16 turns, I would say, per year. So when you look at that, you should never have more inventory, in my opinion, at the start of the month than what you can sell at the end of the month. And I know that's very critical, but yeah, if he's double that, this guy most likely is definitely, I've heard, underwater earlier. Briefly, I was working, but yeah, definitely underwater. Definitely inventory struggles. Most likely he's buying inventory in his same marketplace. Just doesn't make sense, right? And so when the retail ready conversation comes up, and if that's something that has again been stated to you, that's a recon issue, which, as David just said, right? You have an exit strategy immediately as you're putting a number on it, and so you should plan obviously on a much higher turn. So I would look at those the day supplies, and as he was going through, David was mentioning how many what's his average age, what is his, what's the mix, right? I don't know where this area is in Indiana, but I have I've been in the metro market, and then I've also been out on the outskirts, about 30-35 minutes of a metro market on a brand new build with literally the dealership before was a trailer, and so I've seen the fluctuation from both sides of it. But no, yeah, that's it sounds, those numbers sound very, very bad.
Hey, David, I was in and out on the deal, but when you talk about forecasting, you do this, and a guy wants to go from 50 to 100, and he's trying to do it with the same two or three salespeople. Is is that part of your equation too? You can't, you have to think about everything, right? And
Yeah, no
especially your
doubt. That was
salespeople.
part of it.
Okay,
No
I'm,
doubt.
I'm sorry I missed that. I hope you said that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely did. You can't tell me if your store average is 12 that you're going to do 16 next month without a different plan.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Trent, I would look to see what his look book and his trade capture rate. And I'm just, if this is one of your stores, and again, I don't know what the objective is or the goal, other than the guy's just obviously way off. Is there a specific goal or objective? I guess that, like, what's this? Why does this matter? If you don't mind me asking.
Should he trying to keep his job? Yeah, I, I, it, the dealer is trying to get to 200 cars a month. In my opinion, from a marketing standpoint, and that's what I did say this. Like, I can no longer do like the internal side, and I don't have enough information to do that. But from a marketing standpoint, like just based upon like I think their highest month was 184 2 years back. I was like, I don't think you're not gonna hit 200 just based upon your marketing effort. They don't have third party, or they only have one third party, I think. They don't go to the auction. I was like, I just didn't see that he had the marketing effort from a marketing standpoint to get to the number that he needed to get to. Um, and so that's where the question was coming from. He's trying to get to 200, and he's going to end up well short of that number.
I think him and David Long should probably connect, Trent, sorry. I think there could be
Yeah, I
some
don't.
opportunities
Why
there.
does Walmart win, right? I'm sorry, Gray. Why does Walmart win? That was question was to you. Is it because they got the best advertising in the world? Gray, that's for you.
That's for me. Why did not because they have the best advertising? No, they have a process down. They have a
And they
system.
have the
They
right
monitor
inventory,
and
right,
track
sir?
everything. Inventory is constantly flowing, and they know what's coming and going based off who's coming in and out of that front door. There's a lot of things Walmart does that we don't even want to know, but it's definitely not necessarily marketing. It's inventory related
Yeah, no,
and process.
that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know dealers that really succeed at a high level that spend a shit ton of money advertising. I think they
No, but it's
spend most of their
process.
time, yeah, well, inventory, right? Like the right inventory wins 100% of the time, no matter how shitty your marketing is. But the best marketing in the world can outpace bad inventory. There's not enough money to spend to advertise shitty inventory that nobody wants. So it all starts with the inventory.
That it does. That's why I
And that,
say you and Trent and whoever the Steeler is could possibly, I think you could be a huge help for his friend.
yeah, 150 in stock, Trent. That guy's selling 200 cars or gal. If they try to sell 200 with 200 in stock, they guarantee you they're going to be upside down in 45 days. How many does he have in stock now? Is that the same dealer?
Yeah, the used number was 60. I don't remember how many new he had in stock.
Oh, so 200's new and used.
Yeah, 200 was new and used. Yeah, which I just I thought
So
the number
then,
was way out there, in my opinion. But I guess I'm wrong.
so they're looking for a 0.75 to 1 new to used is what it sounds like. Or point, what would that be? 0.7 maybe? I don't know. But their new to used ratio is going to be heavily weighted on new, based on what I hear you saying, right?
Correct. They expected to do more new than used.
And I applaud them for not going to the auction because you said he's not going to get there. He doesn't go to the auction. I'm saying I would propose that he'll have a better chance getting there by not going to the auction. That's my opinion.